Alright folks, so I'm just got done pouring a glass of my homebrew. This is a witbier with Yeast 3068, and I'm going to try bottle harvesting the last little bit of yeast in the bottom of the bottle here into a sanitized vial. I'm going to spray it down with some Star San, and we're going to harvest it. Alright folks, so this is the yeast slurry from the bottle that I just poured into the vial. I'm going to put it in this little fridge here. This is my little beer fridge. And we're going to let all the yeast settle out for a few days, and then we're going to make a starter. Alright, so I'll talk to you later. Alright folks, so now I'm going to start a small starter today. I've got a flask that I'm sterilizing in here and just boiling in water. I've got a little bit of DME boiling away in here. Basically it's about a cup and a half of water and maybe about a half cup of DME. I'm using plain wheat DME. So as soon as this gets going, I'm going to make the starter. Okay, so now everything's been boiled. The flask has been sanitized. I've got some foil that I've sprayed down with some Star San and a spray bottle. That's going to go on the top. I couldn't find a funnel. I've lost it. So what I do is I just cut off the top of a 2-liter pop bottle and sprayed it down with Star San, sanitize it, and now we're just going to basically improvise. So now my wort has boiled, and we're just going to try to pour it all in. Okay, so I've got 2 vials of yeast that I have harvested from 4 bottles of a witbier that I brewed. So this one has the equivalent of 2 bottles, and this one has about 2 bottles. So you can see the yeast there. I'm just going to shake these up and then pour them into the wort in the starter. I'm just going to pour this one in. Just like that. Alright, 24 hours later, 24 hours into the fermentation, we've got some crossing forming on top here, and a little bit of the yeast is settled out, and I don't know if this can focus well enough, but there's still some activity going on in there, some bubbling going on, and so the yeast is doing its job. It's a little late acting though. Now it's about 30 hours, still going strong. Alright, we're going on 48 hours. Fermentation within the starter still going on. Got a lot of yeast byproducts on the surface. Can't really see it in the video here, but there's quite a bit of yeast. Alright folks, so it's been about 72 hours now, and I finally was able to see the crossin dissipate enough to where I cold crashed the flask in the fridge to let everything settle out, and then I just kind of sterilized these 2 mason jars in some boiling water and dumped some, decanted the top layer of beer off of the flask and then poured some into here. And so what you can see is some nice yeast layering going on down here at the bottom of this jar. This is about 12 hours in the fridge, so there might still need to be some settling out to be done. I'm going to let this sit in the fridge for at least 24 hours, but you can definitely see some the yeast down here at the bottom. And then after that settles out for about 24 hours, I'm going to decant the top layer off, maybe halfway down or so. And then when I sterilized these 2 jars, I saved some of that boiling water so that I don't have to redo it again. And so I've got some water already in this jar that I'll use to help wash the yeast in here. And so then I'll do that, let that sit for another 24 hours and settle out. and then I'll pour it off into a smaller mason jar that I don't have currently here. It's down in storage in the basement, but I've got a smaller mason jar. So that's the plan. It looks like we've more than doubled the amount of yeast in here. I mean, we started off with 2 vials that had, as far as thickness goes, less than this much yeast in here. So looks like things are progressing very well. So that's that. I'll check back with you in about a day or so when I finally move things down to the other jar. All right. Okay, folks. So the time has come. Got that small mason jar ready. Got some star sand. Gonna sanitize it. We've washed the yeast once. We've got a nice little layer forming here at the bottom. Getting ready to decant some of that water off, but first I'm just gonna. Okay, we're gonna spray some more here. Get it all nice and soaked. And I'm just gonna let that air dry a little bit. And now we're gonna decant off the water here. Alright, so I decanted off most of the water. We've got a little bit left, lots of yeast in there, so I'm just going to stir this all up. Make sure it's nice and everything's in there mixed up really good. Then I'm just going to take this off and just going to pour it all in there. And that's all she wrote, folks. Cover this back up. And we're just going to put this in the fridge, let it settle out. Alright folks, so after more than 3 days of building up the yeast in the starter and washing the yeast and harvesting it, I've now got a clean jar of yeast that's settled out here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's been washed a couple times, and now I've got it in a slightly smaller ball jar. So I'm just going to put it in my little beer fridge here and let it sit for a few weeks until I can get a fermenter that's free, and I'll start brewing my hef. I'll make another starter with that a day or so before. So that's that. Thanks.